Hi, my name is Joanna Kustra. Welcome to my second part of Digital Masterclass. I hope you were with me during my first part where I showed you my photo production in southern Spain. If you still haven't seen it, go to my YouTube channel, you'll find it there. Let me tell you briefly what can you expect out of this video. At the very beginning, I'm going to show you how do I make selection so that the fashion editorial is coherent, interesting and dynamic. You won't be able to retouch all the setups together, so I prepared few Psd files with retouched photos. So I will explain each layer step by step. Later on, I will show you how do I make a custom color profile thanks to Color Checker Passport so that my base photo has natural and real colors. And I will also explain why is it important and why is it helpful. Of course, these colors will be edited. I will do some unrealistic color grading. However, so that the final effect is consistent with one of the color harmonies. I will also tell you a bit about my equipment which I use for editing, and we will also do a calibration. At the very end, I will show you my editing workflow. I will retouch one of the photos from the very beginning until the very end. So make yourself comfortable and enjoy. Let me share a few tips and thoughts on the selection process, how to build an interesting fashion story. As you can see, I narrowed my pictures down to a few pictures per each outfit. Usually in the fashion editorial, there is only one picture per outfit selected. It's going to be published only one picture. So I need to make up my mind which are the most interesting and which are actually going to build me an interesting fashion story. So first of all, I need to look at my poses. For instance, this picture, this pose is really interesting for me. It's very original, it's very editorialish, and I'm definitely not going to use the same pose in the same editorial because it's too characteristic and it's too similar. So I need to make up my mind and pick only one of these in the same editorial. When it comes to full body like that, let's say, they are similar, of course, but they're not identical. So I might use both of them, however, not together, so not as a pair. Because obviously, when you look at the magazine, you've got two pages and two pictures. You're browsing two pictures side by side. So what do I do? Let's say I'm picking this whole outfit, so I need to pair it with something dynamic. So let's say a portrait like this or a totally different pose like that. The next thing I need to take into consideration is color. So what kind of colors I've got? This intensive pink dress, I need to pair with something neutral. So something, let's say, that one, yeah, that picture could work. Definitely not something as intensive as this red dress, or that also I don't think it could work because the yellow dress is very intensive in saturation, and also a pink dress. So again, while pairing this pink dress, I need to look for something, I don't know, maybe something like that, or as I said, one of these pictures out of the white outfit. These tips actually can apply to any type of platform you're showcasing your work. So whether it's Instagram or your website, you need to make sure the poses are different, the crops are different, and the composition is different. Also, when you do your exhibition, even if the pictures are from different sessions, different styles, they still need to kind of like work together. So you don't have similar poses or similar crops or whatever, yeah? Hopefully these tips will help you to build more dynamic stories. Now I will tell you briefly about my editing equipment, as it seems to me this is quite an important topic when it comes down to the retouching process. My main monitor is BenQ SW321C. It has 32 inches, 4K resolution, and has a very accurate color reproduction, which is extremely important to me because colors play a huge role in my editing style. The monitor is quite big, what means it's convenient for editing. It allows me to fit whatever I need on the screen, windows, panels, and sliders, while still leaving plenty of workspace for the photo itself. Thanks to 4K resolution and high pixel density, you can see a lot of details. It has really great image quality, smooth tonal transitions. This feature actually saves time because there is no need to zoom in and out so often while editing. And what I mentioned earlier, for me the most important advantage of this monitor is the coverage of Adobe RGB color space in 99%, which basically means that I can see a very large spectrum of colors, and it gives me the opportunity to control all hues and all the tonal transitions and these all small nuances, which obviously adds up when it comes to the quality of the final images. Regardless of the monitor you have, calibration is a must. For that, I use this little device called Colorimeter. It was previously known as X-Rite i1 Display Pro, while now the company has rebranded and you can find it as Calibrate. So when you buy a new decent monitor, it is theoretically factory calibrated. So that means that colors are reproduced correctly. However, when using the screen, it heats up, these pixels work and stretch, and over the time, colors begin to be distorted. The screen may give you a blue tint, yellow, or any other color that comes to your mind. Imagine now that your screen, your monitor, is way too blue and you're editing a portrait taken at sunset and you want the colors to be warm and reflect the atmosphere and warmth of the scene. So what do? You add a lot of orange to correct it. As a result, your eyes will perceive this image correctly, but on a calibrated monitor, this will be way too warm. Also remember that monitor manufacturers push saturation, brightness, and contrast to make the screen look more impressive. However, it has absolutely nothing to do with being correct or being close to reality. Even when working with cheap equipment, it is worth performing calibration, and although we will not extend the gamut of our monitor, but at least we will be closer to the correct one. A few words about calibration. I try to calibrate my monitor on a regular basis, every month or two. I usually do it before the photo shoot or before the editing itself if it's some kind of important assignment where color accuracy is crucial. For calibration, I use this little colorimeter, which was previously known as X-Rite i1 Display Pro and currently is called Calibrate. The calibrator works with BenQ software, which is called Palette Master. Now I will show you the calibration process. I open my software for calibration, and here obviously there is my monitor. Calibration device is still an old one, i1 Display Pro from X-Rite. However, after updating the software, they will probably add Calibrate. I press Advanced and Start. Profiling and Next. As for the settings, you always should verify what is the best for your software version. Here I keep white point at D65. RGB primaries, I press Panel Native. In terms of luminance, I can set here anything from 80 to 120. The number here depends on the brightness of your working environment. And when the photos are intended for the internet, the amount should be higher. Gamma 2.2 and black point here 0.3 for the best tone coverage. And I press Next. Calibration preset 1, I keep the name, profile version V4, profile type matrix, and patch set size medium. And I start measurement. Now you can open your colorimeter device, make sure that you tilt your screen so that the colorimeter fits to the monitor surface. And I press Continue. Okay, here we go, and continue. Now I can make myself a coffee. Here we go, our calibration is complete. Now we'll validate our calibration, which will check the results. As you can see, the calibration went perfect, and now we only press finish. If you do not have monitor with a calibration software provided, or you would like to calibrate your laptop, then you can use the colorimeter software. In this case, it will be a program called Calibrate Profiler. All the settings will be very similar. The only difference is that the calibration is done, in this case, on the graphics card, not in the monitor itself. However, keep in mind that if your monitor's manufacturer provides a calibration software, always use the monitor one. Let's talk about Color Checker Passport Photo 2. You probably noticed that I photographed it during my previous photo shoot. When I was satisfied with the light, I gave it to my model and I made sure I've got a photo at each lighting setup. I still have an old version from X-Rite, however it is exactly the same in terms of functionality with the currently offered model from Calibrate. So what is this and why do I use it? Thanks to the fact that I photographed it in each set, regardless of the conditions, I will be sure that my output colors are accurate and true to reality. And of course, if you photograph any products or like me fashion, this is an indispensable tool to be sure that the colors are correct. Also, when you've got two different cameras, this color checker helps you to bring down the colors to the same base, to the same level. Also, it will help you to get rid of any color bias because each camera has some tint. Even if I photograph a fashion editorial where these colors do not necessarily have to be real, I always try to use color checker and color profiling because this is easier and faster for me to color grade a bunch of photos while having the same starting point. Also, if you have presets and you shoot in different lighting conditions, it will save you time and help you to make the whole session more coherent. Now I want to show you how to create a custom color profile. First of all, I need to open my raw file with Color Checker Passport. Whether it's going to be Camera Raw, Lightroom or Capture One, it doesn't matter because the idea is the same. I need to convert it into DNG file. Here we go. Save as DNG on my desktop. And I'm going to open a software dedicated for this color checker. Now I'm going to drag my newly created DNG file, here we go, to this tiny square, and it's going to load an image and try to find these tiny color squares. Let's see how it does. Here we go. It detected my squares, my colorful squares. I can drag it just to make sure it's exactly where it's supposed to be. And I'm going to create a profile. I'm going to name it as D850 pink dress, save. It's going to save my camera profile. I'll need to reset my camera raw and reopen my picture again in camera raw. Here we go. Now I'm going to find and look my newly created profile in here. However, it won't be right away here because these are only highlighted. These are only favorite profiles which I use often. So I need to go here, browse, profiles, here we go, D850 pink dress. I'm going to highlight it and go back to the menu. Here we go. This is my Adobe Color default. And this one is my newly created profile. Again. As you can see, the difference is huge. Let me show you side by side. So basically, what I gain by using this color checker passport is intensivity. Look at the blues, pinks. Well, basically they're more saturated and they look much nicer and more natural. And what else I can do in while having this color checker passport? I can do my white balance. Usually I'm using that square. This is well, making sure that my white balance is correct. However, these two rows are also dedicated for the white balance. This is for the portrait neutral, while this is for the landscape. It works like this, that if I would like to warm up my portrait, I can just basically click here and it warms it up. This is neutral. Again, this one in the middle with this tiny half of the circle is neutral, but this is dedicated for landscapes. When I press on minus, it's going to cool down my picture. And when I'm going to click here, it's going to warm up my landscape. So that would be it. As you can see, the difference is absolutely immense. The last thing I want to mention in this section is my working environment, especially the light. I use a LED lamp from BenQ called Screen Bar Plus. This little LED panel is specially designed for monitors and it fits on top of the screen. It has adjustable power and color temperature. I can set the color to 5000 Kelvin, which is a recommended temperature for editing. The screen bar has also a built-in light sensor, which can auto-adjust the power and color to the working environment. It also eliminates reflective glare of the screen, and the manufacturer ensures that it reduces harmful blue light emitted by a monitor, which theoretically reduces the eye fatigue. For me, the most important thing is that I work in constant and unchanging lighting conditions, so regardless of the time of the day. Definitely that translates into consistency of colors and contrast during my editing. Remember that the environment you work in and retouch your photos is very important for the perceptions of colors and contrasts. So preferably the light temperature should be constant, the surface behind the monitor should have a neutral color, the best would be 50% gray. Now I would like to walk you through my Psd files and on layers, tell you what exactly I did and how. So let's take a look at my first picture. This is a raw file, this is camera raw, and let me just reset to default. This is the original file. So this is picture straight from the camera. These are the things I did, I applied in camera raw. So first of all, I created a blue dress custom color profile. So let me show you the difference. Also, I recuperated my highlights so they're not overexposed. I slightly pushed the exposure, and basically that's it. So I opened this picture. Let me do done. So this is a final file, retouched one, but let me show you again before and after. Okay, and now we're going to go step by step. I'm going to show you what did I do. Okay, so this is the retouch group. Okay, let's pick inside. First of all, I straightened the image because it was off slightly. And then, as you can see, I borrowed a bit of information from a totally different picture and I just extended it on the right hand side. I usually crop my pictures, usually 8 by 10, so I needed this information on the right hand side. Okay, what's next? This is just cleaning the floor, and then I've got frequency separation. Let me just pick inside what's in there. So it seems a bit of overwhelming, but it's actually not. There are actually only a few things which I did here. First of all, these two layers, low, are exactly the same. It's just a copy just in case I did some mistake and I just wanted to go back. So in terms of a low working layer, which is basically taking care of the colors, I did not a lot. As you can see, slightly on the face and on the windows. Then I created Dodge and Burn 50% gray layer, and I did a lot. I usually prefer to retouch on Dodge and Burn. It's less invasive and you can destroy basically less your picture while painting. And then I recuperated slightly color, as you can see on the ear, for example, and just kind of like painted few areas. I turned this layer, this is basically that layer copied on top of the Dodge and Burn, and turned and changed into color mode. So it's just evening out the tones. I basically painted with my brush, as you can see on the face. They're really tiny changes. You can spot them only on a good and decent monitor. Okay, and then high working, there's not much actually. Okay, so let me show you before and after, frequency and Dodge and Burning. In here, I decided that this area is basically kind of like too much, it's too intensive. Oops. So what I did, I copied a bit of hair and I just pasted it in this little tiny hole. Then I did a lot of liquify, well, maybe not that much. Let me show you, just fixing some things. Also, I decided there are a few things on the windows. So my retouch looks like this before and after. Then I started to play with colors and contrasts. So I'm usually creating two groups. One is for retouch, the other is for contrast and colors, because they somehow for me are very close to each other. And let me show you what I did here. First of all, I'm usually pushing the contrast up. So as you can see here, I've got levels. No, this is actually curves. And I created a so-called luminosity mask. Let me quickly show you how do I do it. So let's say I'm creating curves. Let me just drag it out of this group so you can see. I'm going to exaggerate on purpose so you can see. I click on the mask and I go here to image and apply image. I've got an action created so I don't need to do these things again and again. And I click OK, that's it. And as you can see, it creates your image in black and white on your mask. So what does it mean? All the areas that are whiter and brighter, they are going to be affected by whatever I do here. So whether it's color adjustment mask or curves, levels, it's going to be like more visible. I can inverse it, so Command E, and I can do exactly the same to my shadows. So let's say I want to deepen only my shadows, I would do it this way. Yes. Also, what's really good, let me just inverse it, Command E. I can click on my mask and perform levels. So Command L is going to open my window with levels, and I can narrow down, as you can see, it's changing the color, narrow down the area it's going to affect. As you can see, less and less colors, less and less area is going to be affected. So basically, I'm deciding where these levels, where these curves are going to be performed. See? And this way, I'm basically adding some minimal contrast. I can still obviously erase whatever I don't like. So let's say I don't like that much contrast on my background, but this is the idea, and I use it a lot. So what I did here, I basically performed a luminosity mask and curves on the layer, and then I only selected my model. As you can see, it's only my model. Okay. Then additionally, what I did, I created another layer, brightness and contrast, and I took down the contrast and brightness from my background. So it's somehow like my model is the most visible here, while the background is kind of like is more blurry and less contrasty. Then, because I pushed my color contrast in here, I decided to make the dress darker. Yeah, so let me just show you. But I didn't want it to change the color. So only dress darker. Let me see. It's with the Selective Colors and with probably cyan and blue. Okay. Then I did levels again. Again, as you can see, Luminosity Mask, I applied Luminosity Mask, little difference. Then hair coral, let's see closer. What did I do here? I created, again, Selective Color Adjustment Mask, and I painted the hair so it's more vibrant. I think it's probably reds. Yeah, so you can see reds and yellows. Okay, again, I'm creating levels and only applying to their dress. This is only the area I applied it. So I added local contrast only to my dress. Can you see it? I hope you can see it. Okay, I made the whole picture slightly warmer. So I'm already trying to think about the color. And let me show you in the meantime what I had in my mind while thinking about the color. So I opened for you a website which is called Adobe Color, and I uploaded my kind of like raw, this is not a raw picture, but this is a JPEG with my natural colors. And as you can see, it just reads, you can replace it, you can kind of like move it and pick and put it wherever you want. These are my main colors. So what does it show me? It shows me that my colors are quite random. Let me see, extract the theme. So I've got blues and I've got a bit of oranges and greens. These are quite earthy, nice colors. If there is any color harmony, well, there is almost color harmony. I might probably push these colors somewhere here, maybe greens or this way, so they're more symmetric, and it could work. But what I decided to do, let me show you, I decided to put and add magenta to it. So what I had in my mind, take a look. So I've got this dress on the opposite side, while all the warm colors are on the other side. So I've got analogous scheme on one side, colors are close to each other, and they are quite symmetrical. So kind of like on one side I've got these greens, on the other side I've got these browns and kind of like magenta hues, and then just in the middle I've got this dress. So my idea was to kind of like add magenta to my shadows in order to build the scheme. And because I created this on my first picture, as you can see, I added this magenta. So I needed to add it also to all my pictures in my whole editorial. So let me show you how I did it. Again, I did selective color, I went to blacks, and I added a lot of magenta. And also I applied a mask. This is Luminosity Mask, and I decided to remove a few areas, for example, from the eyes, from the hair, from the dress as well, as you can see. So this pink color, this magenta color, is not too heavy, for example, on the dress, because it would change the color of my dress totally, and I didn't want to do this. And then again, I applied it twice, so selective colors again. Probably I did exactly the same. Let me see. This is playing with magenta. And this is again selective color and black. So I added more and more. And then at the end, I put all this magenta in my shadows in a tiny group. And then I removed from the model because I thought, let me show you, I thought it would be too much. Let me see. Yes, it would be too much on her body, on her face, on her dress. Obviously, if you add magenta to the blue color, you will end up with violet, with purple. So I didn't want it to mess up with this, kind of like with this color. I didn't want it to add it to my scheme. Okay, skin color. What did I do here? I think I corrected it. Let me see closer. There's only a little difference. I probably added some reds. Yes. And again, levels. I pushed the level so there is more contrast. As you can see, I pushed it here, then removed it from the areas that I could overexpose. So I removed from these areas. I don't want to lose my information. I removed the vibrance. Remember that whenever you're adding curves or levels or any color changes, then usually it pushes your saturation. So it's good to desaturate it slightly. And I prefer to do it with the vibrance because it's less kind of like destructive, or it's a bit different. Then I added, as you can see, really local contrast to her face, again with Luminosity Mask, and then putting into the group and just highlighting and painting her face. And at the end, what did I do? Let me see, more red. I decided to add more red in the whole picture. And this is it. This is my before and this is my after. And again, let me show you once again. Palette this time. So these colors were my basic output colors. So I had blue dress, a bit of kind of like yellowish green color in the background, and then kind of like earthy, very brownish colors. And then I decided to add this color in my shadows. So I ended up with analogous complemented by blue. Analogous, accented analogous it's called, yeah? So something like this. Warm on one side, accented by complementary color on the other side. I hope it's clear for you. Now let me show you another PSD file and let me walk you through all the layers. So take a look at the original picture. This is straight from the camera. And let me show you what I did in Camera Raw. So this is it. So first of all, I applied my custom color profile, which is this one. So this is the default. This is my from the scene. Then I slightly play with the sliders here, not a lot. Basically what I did, I made the picture more dull, so less contrast. I usually prefer to work on the less contrasty picture, as I want to add contrast where I want, not where the camera is applying, so not default by the camera. And I'm going to open this picture. And this one is the final one. Let me show you before and after. So this is the before and this is the after, with all the retouch and all the color corrections. Let me just pick inside what's in here. So first of all, retouch. As you can see on the right hand side, I added some green space. Right hand side, green space. So when I was shooting this particular scene, I did some of the picture more to the right, some to the left. I wasn't sure which side of the this beautiful area, this beautiful corridor I want. At the end, I decided I really like this green in my picture, so I basically borrowed from some other shot. It was shot basically from the same distance, the same height, so it was quite easy. As you can see here, it's a different picture with more space on the right hand side. It was really easy to put it on the mask and on this green area with soft brush just to select it. So this is my right hand side. It's not ideal, but I don't think anyone could spot it. Okay, now I clean some floor and ceiling, as you can see. So this is patch tool and stamp tool. Then with patch, I cleaned slightly her face. It's barely visible from this distance. A little bit, as you can see on her face, on her neck, the dress. And then I performed some dodge and burn. Just keep in mind that if you've got picture this size, so the face is so far away from the viewer, things, when you zoom in, they won't be too visible. Obviously, it depends where you're going to publish the picture. If it's going to be printed in some big size, obviously I would zoom in and work on these details closer. However, if it's going to end up like this, I'm not too bothered. I'm not going to spend my life on retouching. And what else? I liquefied slightly her dress, her leg, and also removed her from the mirror. I thought it's just this color is too distracting. So let me just show you again. This is retouch before, this is after. Then I started to add contrasts and a bit of color probably. Let me just pick inside. I'm going to open and go step by step. So curves brighter. I applied a mask. This is Luminosity Mask. I showed you before how do I do it on curves. So I brightened only highlights. Then I did the reverse. See, you can see the mask is in reverse. I darkened whatever was like all the shadows. Okay. Then I decided to make the whole picture a bit warmer with color balance, hair corrections. You can see I'm trying to name my layers. It's much easier than to come back and just to correct something. I'm not always doing this. It depends on my time and deadline. You can see the hair is slightly more, it's warmer. Tiny changes, but that all adds up. Then leg color correction, if you can see. So what I did, this is selective color, and I just corrected the legs so they're more closer to the rest of the skin. They were too pink, they were too magenta. I brightened them slightly. Obviously, it was the light coming from above, so they weren't lit enough. Then again, as you can see, face plus warmth. So I added some warmth to the face with color balance. Really tiny changes. It's really important to have a good, decent monitor to see all these tonal kind of like all these details. Okay. Contrast for the body. So what I did, I decided to kind of like pop the person out of the background, and I added a locally level. So I painted on my mask, as you can see, I painted the person. How did I do this? It usually works perfectly. Let me show you on my layer, on my picture. I need to grab this tool, and it usually, when I select it, usually works really well or pretty well. Let me show you. It selects the person quite. As you can see, just some things are not selected. Ideally, you can fix it, but in majority cases, it works perfectly. So this is contrast and colors. Let's see what did I do with color grading. Okay, so at this point, I already decided that my picture is going to have a magenta tint in my shadows because, well, I started from first picture. I decided, okay, I like it, so I kind of like need to continue it. So let me just quickly show you in here, what colors do I have? So I've got greens, I've got a bit of browns and oranges, and I've got this really intensive reddish dress. And basically this is a great analogous scheme. When I was shooting this scene, I was thinking maybe to add a complementary, so let me show you, complementary color on the other side in my whites. As you can see, I've got a lot of white walls, and if I added bluish tint in my whites, I could end up with this scheme. However, I tried it and I didn't like it. Yeah, it was okay, but it didn't work with my whole story. So what I decided, I added, let me just reverse it. I added a bit of magenta in my shadows. So the whole editorial is kind of cohesive. So it has the same feel. It's analogous style. It didn't change my harmony. Let me show you here. So it looks like this roughly, yeah? Or probably, it doesn't read all the colors, so I just need to pick it. Here we go. So this is analogous style, all the analogous harmony. All the colors are very close to each other. And by adding this magenta in my shadows, I didn't change, well, literally nothing in terms of the harmony. So the only thing was like a visual thing that I wanted to fit and to kind of like look the same as the other pictures from this editorial. So what I did here, as you can see, a lot of layers. This is brightness contrast. So I took the contrast out of my background, as you can see. So the model is contrasty and it's very like she pops while the background is less contrasty. Then I added my magenta in my shadows with selective color in blacks. And then I removed it from the areas which I didn't want it to affect. So a bit of this area and a bit of face. I just felt it was too much, so I just erased it. Then I'm adding some local contrast to the hair, as you can see, again with my favorite tool, Luminosity Mask, and with the curves. Then some tiny little changes. I decide that the face is going to be a bit warmer. These are things that I'm applying after the break. I usually take the break from the picture, I go to another picture, and then I come back with my fresh eyes, with my fresh look, and then again I'm just correcting a few things, and it's really good to do it, kind of like take tiny breaks. And then some contrast, even more contrast. As you can see, I decided this picture is not bright enough, so again there are a lot of, here we go, so there is a bit of yellow in highlights, curves, normal curves. Then there is only face, as you can see. Everything, well, almost everything on luminosity masks. Levels. Remember that your eyes are adjusting to the picture, so it's really good to take a break and also at the end to put all the pictures together and kind of like decide, oh, maybe this one needs to be brighter, darker, and whatever. Just even out all the effects. And vibrance, a bit of vibrance. I took it out from the whole picture. And what else? Oh, here we go, less yellow in whites. I decided the whites are too yellow. And then I played also with green. I thought maybe I will make the green a bit less yellowish, but at the end I decided against it. It's just what I just told you, that I put all the pictures together beside each other, and I thought, well, you know what, let's leave these leaves as yellow. So let me show you again before and after. This is before and this is after. So let's see the next pictures, and actually I'm going to show you two at the same time because as you can see they are from the same setup. So it's a headshot and it's a full body. These pictures are straight from the camera. You can see they're slightly overexposed in the background. So what I did, let me show you here, reset to open. Obviously I pushed these highlights to the left, so I made sure there is no overexposed or underexposed area. The same here. Let me show you before and after. And obviously it was done in camera raw. So this is the original. This is, well, all the changes I did in camera raw. As you can see, I changed the profile to my custom color profile, and the same here. So this is original, and you can see it's a little more vibrant. The same here, and with this one. And as you can see, there is some kind of pattern in my pictures. I'm always, well, majority of the pictures I'm opening them quite flat. I'm reducing the contrast. So let's see in Photoshop what I did. Let's start maybe from this picture. Let me show before and after. So this is before, this is after. A lot of contrast, as you can see. This is before and this is after. They're basically treated the same way. The only thing is that I made sure here, well, I did a little bit more with the skin here, while here I focused on the surrounding, yeah? But the colors are identical. So let me show you. Again, I added a little bit of space on the left-hand side, as I thought, okay, if I want to crop the picture to the 8:10, I will lose a little bit of, well, head or leg, and I didn't want to lose it. I had few pictures which were further away, but I really like this pose, I really like these fingers here, so I decided, well, I just steal it from some other picture. Just this curtain on the left-hand side, as you can see. Then I think there is nothing here. Frequency separation. Again, if you peek inside, a majority of the things are done on the dodge and burn, but let me see. Okay, I did few things. You can see on the face, on her leg, on the lower layer. Let me just zoom it in so we can see it better. So this is color layer, And this is dodge and burn, so a little more. I usually prefer to fix things on dodge and burn, but inside frequency separation. And then low working copy. As always, I'm just correcting color on a mode, color mode. Here, it's a blending mode, yeah? Okay, and then let's see what I did with texture. Really tiny changes. Well, it's actually not visible. Okay, so let me show you before and after. And I flattened, I merged this layer here. Then I started to kind of like take care of the contrast. And again, you will see, again, some kind of pattern. I'm creating these luminosity masks, so curves, highlights brighter, shadows also brighter, because I decided I want this picture to be really, really bright. But because of this luminosity mask, I can treat them somehow a bit separately. I just use my eyes and step by step, I work it. Okay, hair correction. I decide to paint the hair slightly warmer. As you can see, this is my selection. So with selective color, probably reds and yellows, I'm just adding a little bit more red and orange. Then I do a thing which I call skin pop. This is exactly the same thing what you know already. It's a luminosity mask, but I push the contrast on the mask. So I clicked on the mask, I click Command L, and then I push my contrast so the mask is a little more contrasty, as you can see here, yeah? And then only I select the areas which I'm interested in, so skin, only skin. And this just basically adds local contrast to my skin. It's a little bit more kind of like glowing. Okay, so this is contrast. Then it's a color. In terms of color here, there's really nothing interesting happening. Let me show you on the color wheel. Maybe this one, because all the colors are quite close to each other. I've got pinks, I've got a bit of pink, I've got a bit of orange, and I've got a little bit of kind of like this yellowish green color. So still, this is analogous scheme. I'm not going to change it. I could possibly add something complementary on the other side. I've got a lot of white, but I decide against it. I try it, I use my eyes, I decide it doesn't work for the whole editorial. It might work for this particular picture, but it doesn't work as a whole story. I always try these things, okay? I never kind of like take things for granted. I just go to, let's say, selective color. I would do it like this. Let me show you. Let me do on top. I just create it for you. I go to whites because I've got a lot of whites. And then I try to make these whites really, really kind of like a bluish, as you can see. I will just push it to the limit so I can see whether I like this effect or not. And then I can obviously make it less visible. So this is a possibility, but it changes totally my scheme. I would need to probably work more on that, but it's just to visualize myself whether I like it or not, whether it's a way to go or not. But I decided against it. So it's my kind of like decision aesthetics, which tells me not to do it. Okay, so contrast, color. What else? There are a lot of tiny changes. So magenta in my shadows. I did it in my previous pictures, so I'm just going to be consistent with that. And I'm adding, as you can see, magenta, so my blacks in selective colors, as you can see. And I'm removing this part of the face. I will show you why. Let me show you what would happen if I kept, as you can see, her eyes are a little bit too pinkish, a little bit too magenta for my taste. So I just slightly remove it from the model's eyes, okay? Then what I do, I correct the skin. I decide to make it warmer. Skin red color, I just wrote it here. Then the whole image brighter, so normal curves, as you can see. Head color correction, what does it mean here? Let me see. I decided the hand is a bit different color, is probably not as saturated as face. And whenever head is close to the face, it's good to correct it, color correct it, because obviously it's really visible. So I corrected it. So it's a bit warmer. Then the whole skin is a bit more orange. As you can see, I just selected her face, less purple and more magenta. What does it mean? I decided that the dress is going to be more pinkish. Okay, I can do it only because it's editorial. If it was shot for this client, for this designer, I would need to make sure these colors of the dress are like true to the reality, correct, they are accurate. And then I'm playing with the greens. I'm just removing probably yellow from them. And I'm making these highlights a little more warmer. So I'm going to Selective Color, I'm going to white, as you can see, and I'm just adding yellow in my highlight, just to make sure, just to make these colors a bit more closer to each other, if that makes sense. And blacks up. I decide that some of the blacks are too deep, and I remove them. And more yellow in red. These are changes again, which I did probably after a break. So I make myself a coffee or retouch another picture. I come back and I do these tiny adjustments. Okay, so again, before and after. And let me show you the other picture. If you've got pictures from the same settings and you decide to publish them, it's really crucial to put them together side by side and retouch them kind of like at the same time, because it's really easy to go with the colors, especially or contrast, some other way. Okay, so it's good to put them together. And again, before, as you can see, I also decided I don't want to crop the whole thing. Let me show you. So I wanted to keep a little bit of this nice angle here. Okay, and let's see inside just really quickly, because it's going to be roughly the same thing. So retouch. So what I did again here, I removed this vase. I took grass from some other picture and I just quickly added. I thought, well, the way she's standing, it's not too visible. What is this? It's just kind of like hanging out of her, I don't know, between the legs. It just wasn't too readable, wasn't like obvious what was in this shot, in this particular shot. So I just fixed that. Dodge and burn. As you can see, I'm not even opening frequency separation. There's little dodge and burn on her face. Again, I'm retouching pictures. I'm looking at the picture like that. So I'm not zooming it in as much as, let's say, like that, because no one will see it. Unless it's going to print, unless it's going to be huge picture printed. It happens to me that sometimes I need to come back to some picture from the past and I need to retouch it, because once the picture was intended for internet or for small print, and then someone wants to, let's say, print or do something bigger, I need to come closer, retouch the face, some details which obviously weren't visible. But there is no need to spend your time on retouching things which won't be visible. So again, contrast, as you can see, I added a lot of contrast. It's basically the same way. And actually we can copy from this picture just what you need to do just to change the mask here. Yeah, so it applies to this particular picture. Highlights, shadows, hair correction, so it's warmer, skin pop. Step by step is exactly the same. And then color. I apply exactly the same. So magenta in my shadows. Let me just close everything again so you can see. Magenta in my shadows. There are not too many shadows here, but luckily my dress is pink, so it will be cohesive. It will be kind of like similar to the rest of the editorial. Okay, skin a little bit more, well, darker and more reddish. Then the whole thing brighter. Then again brighter, but only, what did I decide to make it brighter? Let me see. Just areas. I think these parts which were too dark, less contrasty on the background. Okay, what else? Skin, I'm looking at the skin, really tiny changes as you can see. If you take a look at the mask, I added orange to my legs and to the skin and a bit face. I'm just correcting it slightly, so I'm evening out. And then less purple and magenta, so the dress fits. They're the same color. As you can see, this one is more well, pinkish, and this one is also more pinkish and less purple. Okay, so we're here, and then warm highlights. So literally step by step, all the layers are exactly the same. It's just what changes is where these masks, where these changes are applied. So I decide to add contrast to her face and then some levels at the end. Okay, so this is before and this is after. And just quickly, I just want to show you again these two pictures, so you can see all the colors close to each other on one half of the color wheel, and this one is pretty much the same, one half of the wheel. Okay, let's do the next one. The last two pictures I'm going to show you are going to be again from the same setup. I thought they will be quite interesting for you because I had a great dilemma in terms of color grading. Up until now, I don't know what I'm going to decide. I'm going to show you. Okay, so take a look at these two shots. They're pretty the same, from the same setup. The right hand side, the full body, I retouched during my previous masterclass for a Polish audience. So what happened here and why I am not satisfied? So let me show you the original picture here, an original picture here. And I'm going to analyze colors here. So what happens here? I've got two perfect pairs on the opposite sides of the colors. So I've got oranges, and on the opposite side I've got cyans, so these gloves, and then I've got blue and this yellowish. Okay, so this is my original photo, and we thought it through really carefully with the stylist, and I was really happy on the set that I have decided I managed to match it as nicely, this particular color scheme. Let me show you again on this scheme. So this is Adobe Color website. You just you can upload picture here. So this is original one without any magenta in the highlights. So I'm just going to extract the theme and color wheel, and you can see two pairs beautifully placed exactly on the opposite side. I couldn't pull it off better. Obviously, you always look at the pure hue here. It doesn't matter whether it's here or here. It just, what counts, it's the pure hue. The shade, whether it's darker, brighter, it doesn't matter. Okay, so you've got this gorgeous pair. Then, obviously, I decided at the beginning when I was retouching this editorial, I added magenta to my shadows. So what happened? I cannot all of a sudden abandon this idea, and I cannot leave this picture without, well, magenta. So I've got two options. Either I will come back to all of these pictures and just get rid of this, well, this magenta, or I will try to add it. Let's see what happens. Okay, so I've got this picture with the magenta inside. So I keep all these colors the same, just I add magenta, so this like kind of like well, pinkish hue in my shadows. Here we go. This is what we've got. So still I've got a pair. However, I've got this tiny little guy here in the middle, and I don't know what to do. I feel I will keep it. I will keep the whole story with the magenta. I'm not entirely happy. I feel that this picture would look much, much stronger without magenta if it was standalone picture. So let me show you without magenta here. Let me get rid of the website here. Here we go. I'm just going to show you only one picture. It's easier and better. So this is without magenta. I feel sometimes limiting the colors is better. It's just more, well, it's more pure, yeah? Well, it's my obviously point of view. But at the end, I feel I will add this magenta because it's still kind of like symmetrical on the color wheel. And obviously it fits the whole story. So let me show you briefly what I did here. I don't have my layers named because I retouched it, well, doing the masterclass. so I was a bit sloppy. I tried to speed it up, but roughly I'm going to show you what I did here. So first of all, retouch. So I straightened the whole picture, and then I retouched the dress here. I think I took it from some other picture. I liquefied a bit, some normal things, not too much heavy retouching. What else? Then I've got this color grading, so I've got a lot of contrast. Every single layer is the same what you saw up until now. So I've got a lot of contrast. So there are luminosity masks, levels, hair correction, this is probably ear correction. This is brightness contrast, so reducing contrast on my background. As you can see, this is something what I often do to my pictures, so the person pops, it's really more visible, more contrasty than the background. What else? There is some selective color, so I played with blue, so the blue is more saturated. Levels, then I added this magenta, which I'm not happy about, but I will keep it, I guess. Okay, vibrance, because all of these things are adding saturation, so I need to make sure that I'm taking it down, okay? Then again, I selected the person, I just added some, I think, yellow color to the dress. Again, contrast to her face only. As you can see, this is only her face. What else? There are a lot of tiny changes. And now I think it's more yellow in the dress. The person is more contrasty. And in general, I pushed the curves. And this tiny correction is done when I open something in the other window. When I open two pictures on the same side by side, and I just corrected her face to be roughly the same tone. And here you will see exactly the same, all the steps. So retouch, skin, I think I retouched here more, obviously because it's more visible. I added some freckles. I just corrected them slightly. I'm not retouching super, as you can see, like I will make a close-up. You can still see a foundation here, but I know this picture is not going to be browsed like this, so I don't care. If that was a beauty image, I would definitely need to spend more time on that. So just let's make it clear. But because it's a fashion and it's going to be browsed like this, I just leave it. Also, you need to be careful when you retouching headshots, when you're retouching portraits from this kind of like fashion shoot, not to over retouch them. I can see that sometimes people tend to over retouch portraits because you've got a lot of skin and then you take care of all these details, and then fashion pictures is totally different, and then your portrait, your headshot is overly retouched. So you need to kind of like keep the same level of retouch on every picture you have in your story. I hope it makes sense. Okay, and contrasts, you will see the same story. Luminosity masks, curves, there is some evening out the blue, less contrast on the background, there is some selective color, I think it's a yellow here, and color, yeah, so also contrast and color. So before and after, again, and let me show you before and after. I keep these pictures on layers just in case I will need to fix something later. Also, if I have opportunity, not always, sometimes I've got deadline and I need to deliver pictures by yesterday, yeah. But if I have all the time for that, I leave them for a bit, so for a couple of days, and then I open them with fresh eye. It's much easier to see some, I don't know, inconsistencies in colors, and I usually fix some things after this time. Okay, so now let's do some retouching. Here is a picture I would like to retouch with you, but before we start, I would like to analyze these colors. So I uploaded my photograph to Adobe Color website. You can do it here exactly. And then I'm going to point these tiny dots to the places where I want to read my colors. I'm looking at my main colors, right? So it will be skin, the hair, so roughly here, and also maybe wool. I think these are my main colors. And let me read what we've got on the color wheel. As you can see, we've got 4 colors. I just read roughly blue. Here's my, well, red hair and skin, green, and a dress. So now I'm thinking, what can I do with these colors? One option is something what I did before in this editorial, to keep these colors close. So I might even add some yellow to my greens and create an analogous scheme on one side, complemented by a blue. So-called analogous accented scheme. This is one option. But the other option is, which could be also doable in this case, to push this hair a little bit this way, so a little more yellowish, or the other way around, push my blues a little bit towards cyan. So these 2 colors are opposite to each other and they will complement each other. While the other pair, I could add more blue. So made my greens more colder, and I will create another straight line, another complementary pair. And I would end up with double complementary scheme. I think it's possible to do it in this case. Okay, let's see. So let's start from the profile in here. I'm going to apply my previously created profile, which was D850 pink dress. Here we go. And I will also apply on the other image. Let me just do it. Okay. And I open also picture with color checker because I wanted to make sure my color balance is correct. So I'm just going to select both pictures and I'm going to autocorrect color balance. So I'm going to take this one. Here we go. So this is, well, theoretically correct image in terms of colors, in terms of white balance. Now I can start playing with this. So first of all, I'm going to push the exposure slightly, not a lot. I don't want to lose any details. Then obviously I'm going to push the highlights down. So I don't want anything to be too, well, too bright. Yes, I've got only this thing which I'll probably retouch, but her skin is quite alright, okay? And the same I'll do with the shadows. I'm just going to recover them slightly. So I'm trying to achieve some dull, uninteresting picture. I think I will keep the whites, blacks, I think it's fine. Let me see. I don't want to exaggerate. I will slightly take the vibrance down. I don't want it to be as vibrant as now. And then I'm going to go to color. Here we go. And I would like to go to my greens because my greens were too yellow, so I can try now to move them a little bit closer to blue. So let's see how it goes. So first of all, let me go to hue, and I'm pushing these greens, as you can see. They're a little more, well, a lot actually, well, greener, yes, not yellow, green. But the color is very fake, so what can I do about it? I will just push down the saturation down. Push down, yes. I will just remove the saturation. Here we go. So it starts to look a little more natural. Let me just slightly recover. I'm just looking at the picture and just adjusting with my eyes. Okay, and let's see luminance, if I can do anything about. I think I will keep it in the middle. So this green is already a bit closer, probably in the straight line to my well, dress. Okay, let's see what we can change else. So I'm not going to push any magenta. Let me see, go through them. Saturation, I might slightly desaturate the dress, as you can see. And maybe, just maybe, let me see the luminance, I'm going to make it brighter. A little bit. Okay, just add a little bit contrast. Okay, what else? In terms of optics, I'm not changing anything. Color grading, I'm not doing anything at this stage. Geometry, well, this image is really distorted, but I don't think this thing will help me. Well, let's see. Well, anyway, I'm losing a lot of pictures. I think I will do it manually when I open my picture, because I want to keep this bit of dress, so I'm just saying no. I think I don't need to remove the noise. I think it's totally fine, so I'm just going to keep it. I'm making sure I'm opening my picture in Adobe RGB, 16-bit per channel. And I'm opening into Photoshop. Okay, so first of all, I'm going to take care of the distorted image because it bothers me a lot. So I'm going to copy my picture and start working bit by bit in order to straighten it up. Also, I'll keep in mind that I'll probably crop this picture somehow probably like that. So I don't need to be bothered by bits which are basically around my crop. So let's go. So I straightened the walls basically, or roughly. I speeded it up because it's not too interesting to watch it. Now what I need to do, I need to clean these walls. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to copy parts from good wall, well, not broken, and I'm going to try to fix this one. So I roughly cleaned the wall. It took a bit of my life. I should have actually moved this sofa and I should seen it on the day of the shoot, but because I didn't see it, I needed to fix it now. Okay, I'm going to flatten it and let's do some dress cleaning. I'm just going to go with patch tool and just roughly remove these bits which I feel should be slightly removed. Okay, so for example this one, this one. Okay, now I'll do a bit of liquify. I'm trying to liquify at the beginning because later, obviously, when I've got my masks and everything, it changes a lot. So what I want to do here is slightly push her waist. She's a very slim and tall model, but obviously in this cupcake dress, she looks big, she doesn't have any waist. So I just slightly want to, not destroying anything, push it with small moves in order not to just go too much. Okay, I think that would be it. Let's see. So it's before and after. I straightened also some walls. So now I'm just going to make sure where is my crop. So roughly I'm just going to decide, I think I'm going to see a little more up here. I'm going to put 2 lines so I don't waste my time on retouching something around. So somewhere here, I just made some guides, okay? All right, now I'm going to perform action frequency separation. I've got this one which is called Advanced. Let me just go. These two I'm going to remove. I'm not going to need them. I've got two lower working layers and two up. I'm going to work first on that one. There is not too much to be retouched. Roughly, I'm going to smoothen these edges and tones. And then on the higher, I'm going to take care of the texture. I need to be really, really careful. I think I even zoomed too close. I don't want to remove everything, especially that some of these spots are freckles. Then I'm going to do a dodge and burn layer in between. I prefer to work on the gray layer. However, if you prefer to do two layers with curves, it's up to you. It works the same. It's just a matter of being used to. So I'm just pushing these pixels here and there. The nice thing is that if I press R, I can turn around my image. And I'm massaging these pixels to even out the tones. I'll probably speed it up. So I speeded it up so you don't need to watch me doing every single move. And what I did here, I did a little bit of dodging and burning. I put a color in the color mode, new layer on top just to even out the tones. I slightly also cleaned it on this layer and few tiny adjustments on the high working, so texture. So for now I'm pretty happy. I'm going to create a new layer on top of them. So what next? I'm roughly happy. I just saw this one, so I'm just going to remove it with the retouch for now. I might want to come back, but at this point I want to start to work on contrast. So I'm going to put these into one group. I'm going to call it retouch. I'm not using this one as I think it's too much, so I'm just going to put retouch here. And then I'm starting to build curves and other adjustment layers. First of all, I will add some contrast here, and I'm going to run my action. It's here, so high luminance mask. So I'm just clicking on it and running. It's exactly the same which I showed you before. You can do it coming to the image and apply image. Let me see. Basically what it did, it pushed my highlights. Let me see. Already looks much better. However, I don't want this, these curves on the whole picture. So what I am to do, I can put a group on top of this, put inside, and create a mask, and delete out of all the places I don't want this contrast to be. So basically the background. Let me see. Here it won't be visible. I don't want any highlights, so any dramatic highlights around here. I want only hair to be, very visible. I prefer to do it in the group on the new mask, because if I go too far. So if I were to remove from this mask, there's no coming back if I kind of like go too far. While here I can still see, I can still paint on that with X, changing with X. Slightly, let me see. So my model pops. What else? I will go now to Selective Colors. I will just take a look at my skin, color of my skin. I want to add a little more color to my hair. Let's see. I'm adding colors to the whole picture, however I will do later in mask. Let me just drag this group, hide everything, Command I, and paint only hair. It's too way too red, but I'm just going to correct it. It's too much red. I'm just playing with these sliders and just finding some sweet spot. I can see I selected too much, so I'm just going to retouch out of the dress, like remove it, paint it out. I'm always working with soft brush. Okay, I think this is it. So this is hair. Then I'm going to the skin. I'm just going to push it slightly. Again, I will need to select it later. As you can see, it's changing a lot. I'm just going to paint on the skin. Again, very soft brush. I'm painting my skin. And maybe a bit of hair. Let's see. Now I want to add a little more contrast to my skin only. So I'm going to curves again. I'm going to add a little bit of contrast curves, and then I'm going in my actions to perform again the same action. You can see, and now I'm going to press and click on the mask, Command L, so I'm opening my levels and pushing contrast. I'm just looking only at my skin. So I want to make it more contrasty. Only my skin. I think that will be it. Let me see. Okay, let me put it again in the group. I prefer it this way. Create a mask, hide everything, Command I, and paint areas. Oops, paint areas only which I want. So I'm painting. Maybe a bit of dress, let's see, but with lower opacity. Okay, I feel I exaggerated, so I'm just going to turn the opacity down. I'm going to put these in one group. I'm going to call them color and contrast. Now I think I need to even out the dress. It's too bright at the bottom. So let me go to Selective Color. I'll go straight to magentas and I will make it a bit darker. I'm just going to paint this bit. I will do the whole image a bit brighter. Sometimes I need to look at the levels and just check how much space I've got still here left. So what's overexposed? I can see that the only overexposed spot is in the background. There is still a long way from being close. So I can actually push a lot here. You can see I could actually leave it somewhere here. In terms of the shadows, this is my color, so it will be, the color is very intensive, so it will be exaggerated. I will lose some details. I'm just going slightly to push it here. Okay, let me see, so here. Now I want to take out a bit of, somewhere here, a bit of contrast out of my background. So what I do, I create adjustment layer, brightness contrast. I lower it down. So let me just do something more dull. And then let's see how Photoshop will work with selecting my model. So something like this. Well, not so bad. And I'm just going to, here we go. And then I will paint the rest with soft brush, full opacity. Okay, the image is way too bright. Let me just adjust it, something like this. And I'm putting things inside. Let me see before and after. What I'm supposed to do now, I should take a break, come back, drink some coffee and take a look with fresh eyes. But because I don't have this opportunity, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to take a shot again. So I'm going to, here we go. I'm taking snapshot. I'm going to upload my picture to the website. I'm going to check my colors. So I'm opening my Adobe Color. I'm going to replace the image as this one actually, yeah. Here we go, there's a lot of happening. This one. And I'm going to double check my colors, where they are. Oops. Upload it again. Here we go. Here we go. I could do basically the same thing with Paletton. With this one, it's just I need to go one by one with colors. I prefer Paletton, just I wanted to show this time Adobe Color website. Did I miss any color? I think that would be it. So let me see. So, well, this is perfect, but here I went over the board. Basically, I pushed it too much. So I need to add a little bit of yellow in order to keep it in the straight line. So let me just do it right now. I'm going to get rid of this. I'm going to add some yellow. So selective color. Let me just go to greens and add some yellow. Here we go. Maybe a bit more. I'm going to copy it. Something like this. Maybe a little lower. And now what I need to do, I need to add some magenta in my shadows because in the whole editorial I did it. So let me see. I'm creating new layer, adjustment layer. I'm going to my blacks and adding some magenta. How to be sure that my shadows are in magenta? I'm clicking on the upper layer and I'm just basically checking here. It doesn't matter where it comes, stays here. It's all about the pure color here. So about the pure hue. So this is already, as you can see, pink. This is more reddish, so I could work on that. Let me see, obviously this will be orange. But I'm looking at these spots. Let me go back. And now I will do a mask, a luminosity mask, this time only black tones. So I'm applying it. And I'm still going to, as you can see, there is a lot of black here. I'm still going to remove a little bit out of her face. So again, I'm putting it in the group. I prefer it this way, a mask, and I'm removing from her face. Also maybe a bit of here. What I'm going to do, I'm just going to make the blues a bit more visible. So selective color, blue. I need to be careful not to change the hue. Okay, and cyans. Let me see. It's a lot of contrast. Okay, what I missed here, and it bothers me still, I'm just going to come back here and turn this off for a second. So Command J is this little tiny spot. I want to get rid of this, this white spot. So I'm just going to darken, mode darken, and opacity full. I'm just going to paint it. Or maybe actually I'm going to do it green. Let's see. Maybe this one as well. Let's see. I think that looks better. Okay, what else? I think I would work a little bit more on the face. So, because now with the contrast, everything is visible more. So let me just turn this off. I'm going to flatten it and slightly maybe create dodge and burn. And just paint slightly under eyes. I'm never removing the bugs under eyes because they're natural. It's just slightly making them softer. But I feel because I added a lot of contrast, they are more visible, okay? Okay, so sometimes I just do it twice. This one. Let's see, it's a lot of contrast. Probably I exaggerated with everything. Let's see totally before and after. I'm going to put a group. This is all. I will also take down the vibrance. Let me find it. Somewhere here. I prefer to do it with vibrance than saturation. For some reason, saturation leaves sometimes the picture a bit of grayish, kind of like washed out, while a vibrance is, well, I prefer it. And I feel these are a little bit too much black. I mean, this is too contrasty on my background. So I'm coming back to this magenta, and I'm going to do with the selective color to my blacks. I'm just going to push my blacks. So it's going to be up here. Let's see, maybe not as much. What else I could do? This one comes here, selective color. I'm going to go to whites and see where do I have whites. Oh, well, I can see on the skin. I can pop the skin a bit more. So I'm just going to push it a little bit. And maybe add a yellow tint, so it's kind of like golden and glowing. And I'm hiding everything under my mask. And I will paint on my skin. So a good habit would be to flatten everything on top. And mirror my image horizontally. So all of a sudden I see my image with fresh eyes and I spot right away new things. So for example, some things in the background, whether I exaggerated with something, maybe this thing is not straight, well, maybe I need to straighten this one, well, this one's actually okay, or that one, something here. So if you turn it this way, for a split of a second, you can see your picture with fresh eyes. Let me see, maybe I can work on the crop. But I'm going to delete it now. What else I can do? As I said, I need to take a break. I need to look at the picture with fresh eyes. But This is basically the direction I would go with this image. I'm going to save it. And that's it. At the end, let me tell you a few words about where to look for inspiration and where to get the knowledge from. If you're serious about photography and retouching, I encourage you to browse a large number of good photos and arts, photography albums, exhibitions, good fashion magazines. These are things that could greatly influence your development. So one thing is to learn and master the tools: light, using camera and gear, working with model and crew. You will find a lot of decent videos on YouTube. And the same goes for retouching. YouTube is actually a great place to look for knowledge. However, totally different thing is to learn how to look and how to see. You may know all the tools, be proficient in all the editing tricks, but if you can't see the difference between your photo and the good photo in a fashion magazine, well, the journey is going to be longer than needed. I have been photographing for more than 15 years, constantly learning how to see and how to look. I have been studying photos of other photographers and artists that I admire. It's a journey. It's a never-ending process. And great exercise is to be inspired by someone else's style. And I mean both in terms of photography and editing. And the inspiration is actually a bit like copying some small parts, elements. So if you take a closer look at the photos that you like and break them down into smaller parts. So what was the light? What was the model? How did the model pose? Whether the background is complicated or simple. When it comes to editing, whether retouch is minimal or strong. What are the contrasts? What are the colors in blacks and whites, etc. If I like some particular retouching, I put it to Photoshop as a reference and I try to emulate it. I try to copy it, and this is a way to learn it. And remember that working with other creatives, also other photographers, is better than alone, as you motivate each other, you inspire each other, as great artists used to do in the past. And obviously, lots of practice, repetition, and patience. Okay, so that will be it I have prepared for you. Thank you very much for staying until the very end. If you like what I have prepared for you and you would like to support me in creating similar videos for free, please subscribe to my YouTube channel, like this video, leave a comment with your thoughts. Also, you can support me financially. I will leave a PayPal link in the description below. Every little amount will help me in order to devote more time to create more free stuff. If I plan any additional workshops, I will definitely share info on my social media. Also, I wanted to thank the Lumesca group, so thank you and Calibrate team for motivating me, helping me out to put this masterclass together. I definitely wouldn't pull it off without them. So thank you very much. Warm greetings from Spain. Hasta luego.